The Archie Carter, the Southeast mouthpiece. That's King HP, and we got action. We got action.
Well,
So Stephanie Vaquer, may know who she is, may not know who she is, but after today and this week, the whole wrestling world is going to know who she is. She is the latest signing to WWE's NXT brand, and she is causing waves throughout the wrestling world. What you think, HP?
I think that's for one, congratulations, right? Uh,
Congratulations.
you know, however, I do feel like there is a right way, a wrong way, a better way. Maybe I don't know the wording, but there's
Two
ways to
sides to the coin.
two sides to the coin.
So, if you don't know, I'm going to read this. Former New Japan Pro Wrestling and CMLL star Stephanie Vaquer is headed to WWE NXT. Hall of Famer Shawn Michaels, who oversees NXT Creative, made a tweet, and it says, "Welcome to the WWE family, Stephanie." Vaquer has been the CMLL Women's World Champion, New Japan Women's Strong Champion, and most recently made headlines for a strong performance against Mercedes Moné at AEW New Japan Pro Wrestling's Forbidden Door in a winner-take-all match for her title against Mercedes' title. As you can see, Stephanie is a vet. We mentioned three other companies: CMLL, which is a big on luchador style wrestling,
Mexico.
AEW, and New Japan Pro Wrestling. So apparently, Stephanie's getting busy out here in these wrestling streets, and WWE just scooped in, took out these streets.
Here's what I gotta say though, right? Like people are mad, right? And I think you're about to get into that, right? Of why they're
Yeah, we're
mad.
gonna get it. We're gonna talk. Yeah, we're gonna talk.
Okay, so it's just you're you have your accolades, right? So people know who you are. You just had the Forbidden Door match with Mercedes Moné, who, as we know, used to be Sasha Banks in the WWE, and a winner takes all. But why NXT? You know,
Why NXT?
hey, Gar,
It was said that AEW had interest in her. She was the New Japan, champion at one point. She
right?
currently, if I'm not mistaken, still holds gold in
CMLL,
CMLL.
right?
So for her to leave with gold around her waist, we've seen this before in the WWE, and it was a big deal then. It's a big deal now for your champion to leave while still being champion. And she still had dates she was booked for and events she was sold on. So people are happy to see her move on, but the company she was doing business with, they like, yo, we had you booked. You our champ, and you just dip it. But why NXT is the question. Why do you think NXT HBA, and why do you think she left? She's doing well, right? We would
She's
assume
doing well,
she's at the top of the mountain in three companies.
right? So I was reading about her that she's from Chile, and she grew up always idolizing WWE. AEW wasn't even a thing. So I get it. The big company that you dreamed of going to calls, you go off running, right? I get that. But very, very, very few superstars stay their entire career in one company. And I say that to say this: wrestling is a finicky business, right? You can be hot one day and you can be cold getting released next year, a year after. You got to come back, potentially, maybe, possibly. We don't know. We've seen the WWE expanding where the things we would never see, they work with TNA. Who's to say? Because there used to be a deal with New Japan way back in the day with Hulk Hogan going over there and fighting some of their, like, WWE has done these things before in the past. And the last thing I would want, me personally, is to be in bad stand. It's one thing to be like, hey, look, I'm not extending my contract, right? But when they're booking you, they got money behind you. These aren't multi-million. I mean, they are, but they're not. They're not the company.
They don't
WWE,
got WWE money.
right? People are gonna be upset. People are gonna be upset, and they're gonna remember
I
that.
got a rule I live by is if you burn the bridge, burn it forever, or don't burn the bridge. You
Mm.
can't have it both ways. We've all had jobs, and what's the thing they tell you? Leave a 2 weeks notice.
Give it 2 weeks notice. Even if you tell them, "Hey, my intent is to not come back. I'm not gonna resign." Okay, got it. We leave on.
Then
We
some
move.
people be like, well, you know what? Y'all wasn't gonna give me 2 weeks to fire me. Let me know this. So I
Yeah,
think I think she had an opportunity and she took the opportunity and just jumped at it. When you have people in your face, in your emails, with contracts and paperwork in front of you, you have the bargaining power. A lot of people don't know how to use that bargaining power. Say, hey, I'm going to do this, XYZ. I want to leave. Like, maybe she didn't care. Maybe the WWE is the end all for her career, but she's going to a company as someone who's a champion with a stacked roster.
highly stacked, and this.
We praise the NXT women here all the time on the Attitude Era podcast, but I'm gonna run through this real quick, right? You got
Mhm.
Adriana Rizzo, Ariana Grace, Ava Rain, Brinley Reese, Carly Bright, Cora Jade, Danny Palmer, Fallon Henley, Gigi Dolan, Izzy Dane, JC Jane, Jada Parker, Jakara Jackson, Jasmine Nix, Carmen Petrovic, Kalani Jordan, Kelly Kincaid, Kendall Gray, Laney Reed, Lash Legend, Layla Diggs, Lola Vice, Nikita Lyons, Roxanne Perez, Sol Ruka, Stevie Turner, Tatum Pexley, Thea Hall, Wendy Chu, Ren Sinclair, and Zena Sterling.
There's
Those
30.
are the current NXT roster women. Maybe I missed a few, but you get the point. You see where I'm going with this.
But let me put some other things in perspective. You named 31 superstars. Okay. Um,
And don't
SmackDown.
forget Mi Chin, who's up and down, and Jordan Grace, who just made an appearance.
SmackDown. B-Fab, Bailey, Bianca, Candice, LeRae, Chelsea Green, Electra Lopez, Indy Hartwell, Jade Cargill, Naomi, Nia Jax, Piper Niven, Tegan Knox, Tiffany Stratton, Raw, and I might have missed somebody there, right? Alba Fire, Asu- ah, ah,
Oscar.
Oscar, yeah, Dakota Kai, uh, Isla Dawn, Ivy Nile, Io Sky, Carrie Sane, Katana Chance, Kaden Carter, Kiana James, Liv Morgan, Natalia, Rhea Ripley, Shayna Baszler, Sonya Deville, Zoe Stark, Zelina Vega. Like that.
Carmella, Alexa Bliss. Like you have, and don't forget, you might see a Trish Stratus sometimes. You might see a Lita
Sometimes.
sometimes. And from NXT, Fire and Dawn just went up. Lyra Valkyria just went up. So why WWE? We don't know. I think the WWE sometimes they like to just take talent.
Yeah.
So and we've known of several superstars who said WWE paid me just to sit home.
You know, it's wild. It's kind of like that dream team, right? When you look at the 92 dream team or even 2012 Olympic team, like you look at the names, you're like, damn, man, all these guys put up 20 to 30. But on the actual roster, they're only putting up 5, 10. Some guys ain't getting much playing time. But back in their team, back in the normal league, they are killers. And I feel like you snatching talent just to have it. So you know what I'm saying? So other people can't
Would
develop
you
their.
rather be a big fish in a small pond or a small fish in a big pond?
That's a very good question. We've asked this on one of these episodes before. I think honestly, it was on a double up. It was on a double up. I can't say the name. I can't say the name because it ain't dropped yet. It ain't dropped yet.
Hmm.
But I will say I almost slipped. I would rather take being the big fish in a small pond. I'd rather take that heat because I'm the man here. Yeah, you're the big time, but nobody knows you really over there.
This
Like
is
there's
my
so many
problem with
people.
AEW, and this is my problem with WWE. I'm a New Japan fan. I watch other wrestling other than WWE. I know what Jay White was in New Japan. I know what AJ Styles was in New Japan. Kenny Omega, Minoru Suzuki, Will Ospreay. I know what Asuka did around the world. Shinsuke Nakamura was the biggest free agent in wrestling when he went to WWE. He gets to WWE, he's up, down, hot, cold, hot, cold. These guys
Mostly
coming to
both.
AEW, we don't know the backstories because they don't go into them. So that's my only thing. If she comes to it, well, she's starting in NXT with that talent and that resume. I would think she would have been a main roster addition.
See, then that's the thing. I think once see, there's certain things about New Japan, AEW, WWE, all of them, right? And they vastly differ, and that's the audience. Even though wrestling fans are wrestling fans, that's not really true because
No, the fans
WWE
over there is different. It's definitely different.
it is different, and WWE casts the biggest shadow. However, people who like New Japan for what they like, or Ring of Honor, or House of Glory, like these people like these things for what they do. That technical wrestling, chain wrestling, getting into. They're not super big on promos compared to
The
WWE.
crowd
WWE
in New Japan doesn't even cheer. They sit in
WWE,
silence, and that's tradition. That's part of the wrestling culture. There is certain thing. It's not the
hey,
what's. It's not the taking over
that's
the.
fake culture. Period.
It's
They
not
ain't about to
taking
be.
over the show. It's not the beach balls. And that was the thing with Jay White and Okada. Jay White had them break what they traditionally do during their feud. If you know, you know. And that was a big deal. So I'm saying these guys and girls, men and women coming to these companies with these big resumes and great accolades, and we don't know any of it.
Well, that's another thing too, because the American audience and what goes on American television. I don't want to use the p word as in propaganda, but like the way we sell and put things out, you know what I'm saying? It's it's not you're not really going to, and in the way the American fans are, like American fans don't like taking over a show, but yet they'll complain about Scott. Where were they just at? Clash of the Castle. They complained about being over there. They complained about um,
Well, you can't please everybody.
Money in the Bank, right? They're like, oh, the fans were too much. But then you come to watch a WWE event in like Philly, and Roman Reigns is getting like you won't even Dom can't even get a sentence out. So it's like
I
you
just know
know,
as far as this, it says CMLL and New Japan Pro Wrestling released a joint statement
mm,
Wednesday that Vaquer left both companies for personal reasons.
that's wild, bro. That's that Pat Riley, Stan Van Gundy. Hey man, he got to take off for family emergencies, and then my man goes and wins the chip, and my man Stan Van Gundy never comes back. Like, just say you wanted the ring. Her dream was to be in WWE. She's actually tried out and didn't get picked up before there too, at one point too. So it's like she got an opportunity. I'm assuming it's lucrative too, because I'm pretty sure I don't know, but
When
I'm assuming.
WWE normally pitches superstars and they mention their backgrounds, Puerto Rican, Chilean, Indian, even with like Jinder Mahal, it's normally to break into those markets.
Right.
Jinder Mahal was champ. Mahal can wrestle, but Jinder Mahal was champ because they were breaking into India. And if you that continent of India is not just India, it's a lot.
It's a lot. They
When
got a
they went
billion
to
people
Puerto
as well.
Rico for the pay-per-view, LWO popped up, and who else? Arguably the biggest artist in the world, Bad Bunny. So it's always a play in play with WWE. And if Triple H and Shawn Michaels didn't just pick this one particular athlete and say, hey, we want that one, it's a reason and it's something going on. And we're going to see. But right now, people are killing her online. They hot.
I mean, again, it's like it's in 2024. This is a Lex Luger first shot of the Monday Night Wars type of move. I mean, really, your book. They don't know you're leaving. All of a sudden, you pop up in another company.
It's
The big
Alundra Blaze dropping the title in the trash.
Yeah.
because she
I mean,
still has booking. She still holds gold in these companies.
and then what does that look like if she walks on an NXT with a belt, right? Because she doesn't have to get that belt back. She can take whatever penalty WWE can say, hey, financially, we got you. Whatever they about to do, we got it. Don't worry about it. Just bring that belt. Bring whatever belt that you had still in your possession from any company. It don't matter.
I don't
They may,
see it because that would give light to the company. But if she just never returned it, they
if
just
she lost one to
they gotta get a new belt made.
Mercedes Monet, but I
Right.
don't know what if she had other things in her possession. Because again, and this goes to my Ric Flair argument, stat packing. There's not too many world champions where they count all their title reigns from other companies. Because Ric Flair ain't no 13, 12, 11, 10-time champ in WWE and has a couple titles in elsewhere. Almost all his 16 are elsewhere. He only has like one run with the title in WWE.
And one
So
thing about the Archie Carter and King HP, we love the NXT women's roster. We champion the NXT women's roster. I don't want this to overshadow what's happening with a lot of the athletes and women there because they're doing some of the best work I've seen in NXT in a long time.
you know what's funny because you talk about like New Japan and what their fans like, and we talked about like what WWE fans like. I feel like NXT more so is like watched for the women's wrestling because it's not a women's league. It's definitely not. But however, I really think the women's side is stronger than the men's, and that's very close. I'm not because one they have a high. You read 31 names for the NXT roster. The
You
other two I read,
you have a good argument with that.
yeah, it's
You
it's
do.
pretty equal. 31 women on a roster, and they're all putting in work. Like Kelly Kincaid does interviews, but I think she used to be a talent. I mean, Wendy Chu, they revamped her. I love that whole the sleep. Like it's a lot, but they got it handled. It doesn't feel rushed. Only thing I don't like, and she can still wrestle is Michin, figuring out what's going on with her. But that's me nitpicking. That's not even like a negative. It's just me trying to find something to say.
She's definitely
Because
a tweener. They said they just tore it down. We got the new North American women's champion. That was a great match. We just saw Sol Ruka and Kalani Jordan defend that title, and people talking about that match. It's not that these women. What I really like about what's happening with the NXT women is that people were tuning in because of how they looked. Now people are tuning in because of what they do in the
right,
ring.
facts, 100%.
So it's not just the she
She got the
got the
jiggly wigglies.
yams. Yeah,
I
she
talked
got a
about the
move
jiggly
set that she
wigglies with
can work.
Lola.
Yeah, these women are doing, like I said, some of the best work I've seen. To say it's a bunch of them. Normally you have one or two who outshine the class, but we've watched these women grow. We've watched them make mistakes. We watch them have botches. We watched them elevate, and now they're to the point where they're putting on 6-woman ladder matches and one-on-one matches that's trending for days. Think about the men that are there. You don't. It's not a bunch of slouches in NXT.
No, it's not at all. Sean Spears, Ethan Page, Trick Williams, like Wes Lee, and they just got the Rascals back, and they got their
Obafemi,
oh
the young OG, a Gallus. It's a lot of
NXT.
men in there that can put on matches that we will be talking about, but we talking about the women.
And you know what too? I think it helps where the main roster gets a little killed. They have a 2-hour show, so it's packed in. A lot of talent packed in storyline. We have to move. We ain't got no time to play around. 15-minute matches. You got the heritage. Like here's why NXT. I get ratings, right? I get it. But pound for pound, NXT might be the best show they have. And I say that because you have women's mid-tier titles, and it's a fight for it. So Ruka Kalani just put on 6-woman ladder match for it. They got it going on. Lola Vice, Roxanne Perez tore it down. And in the lead up to that match, although the promo, but remember, then this is where I got to step back. It's a
Still
developmental league.
developmental.
They're developing. So I can't hold it to get like, hey man, when they're ready to go to the main roster, they will or they won't. Because maybe they like it there, but want to keep them here because the main roster is a moving train. They already have feuds, people already know. So when you come up there,
Aaliyah was in NXT for 8 years. She went to the main roster and we haven't seen her. So staying in NXT sometimes is I personally think Bailey and Sasha Banks' best work was in NXT. I
it,
think I think
mhm.
their best promos were in NXT. Maybe because it's a smaller pond. Maybe because it's not as intimidating. You only got like a few hundred people here to
Right.
entertain, maybe a few thousand versus 10, 20, 60, 70,000 at WrestleMania. So maybe it's a little more comfortable. Maybe it's a little more homey. But a lot of them put them on their best work in that match of the year. When people was talking about match of the year, Bailey and Sasha Banks, that was in NXT.
You know, when you just think about all the people that came out of NXT and how the WWE is handling it, I think a lot of people's best work almost was in NXT. Or if it wasn't, it's like, okay, you got the Shield, right? They all came out of NXT. Obviously made great work. Charlotte Flair, Bailey, Sasha Banks, Gunther, Braun Breaker, Ilya Dragunov, like these guys, these God, they are killing it. Even when who was the dude that defied gravity? I can't Neville. I love when Neville was down there. You know what I'm saying? Like the NXT is its own brand,
Sami
and if you
Zayn, Kevin Owens.
look,
But then some things are bigger than NXT. The Wyatt family was bigger than NXT. That fit perfect in the main roster. Some other things are just bigger than NXT and they will fit in the main roster. Some things don't fit in the main roster. Perfect example, Karrion Kross. In NXT, you couldn't tell me Karrion Kross wasn't next. But you move that to the main roster, and we talk about Karrion Kross every week. Like, what's going on with Karrion Kross? Because the entrance was big, everything was big. But again, so Finn
I have a
Balor in
question.
NXT was crazy.
Crazy.
Shinsuke, like my first time seeing, I think Finn Balor and Shinsuke Nakamura was an NXT house show. I saw
NXT.
the Undisputed Era in an NXT house show. Like, think about that. These people come through NXT, and maybe this is what's happening with Stephanie. She gets through there, but think about Cody Rhodes. He said he wished he started in NXT. It's too big for that.
Way too big. But let me ask you this: if Jade Cargill will go down to NXT, I think it's too late now, but I'm not sure. I think it would be better served, and then get her, get her, get her where we would want her to be, because she's not no chain wrestler. She ain't Dean Malenko. She ain't
Only
no.
thing about that is you have a lot of women down there with the similar personalities, I think, and that would get kind of lost. You have Lash Legend, who's kind of a in that Jade Cargill, and you have Jada Parker, who's kind of in that lane. But you don't want to take your big star to your developmental company and they get outshined by your developmental talent. See, that's the risk.
Mm.
It's risky.
But you know what's funny? We talk Jade Cargill. AEW does half the ratings of NXT. So it's like, hey man, even though you came from another company, you are smaller than our developmental. You're not as big as you think. Because when them stars come up, okay, the biggest stars that came out of NXT were really big sometimes. Jay Cargill coming from AEW, like there was no knock on AJ Styles, right? He didn't have there was no need to
Well,
send
that's
his
the thing. We just signed one of the biggest women in Jade Cargill, and now we do this again.
maybe that's
So,
why. Maybe that's why. Maybe it's like, hey, we would love to put her on the main roster. However, any flaws she may have, we want to get them out here first and then slide her up.
well, Stephanie doesn't have many flaws. Like I said, she's been champion many places and current. So, and New Japan, that means she works the strong style, and CMLL is it's luchador. So,
Luchadors.
she has the skill set and the talent and the ability to fit wherever they want to put her. I don't think she had the name notoriety to come in right into main roster. So you build her. That's what you do. Jade had the notoriety already.
Yeah, she did. She did. Definitely did.
You know, it's sports. You bring in a free agent, you bring in a rookie that might have cooked over in Europe. You know who did that? You know the perfect example of that was when the Knicks drafted Kristaps Porzingis. And nobody knew his body of work because it was overseas. But
It was
when he
boom.
got to New York, he was cooking.
It was boom when they drafted him. I remember that.
Yeah, and then he got there and became a fan favorite. So then you'll have like a veteran who we've seen their body of work, and we bring them in. They fit right in, but this rookie got to prove himself. So maybe that's the difference in the dynamic of these last two big signings and additions to the women's roster in WWE. So
I agree. I agree
I
that,
just know
and I hope
she
she
got
keeps it.
some people. I think it's more people are hot at her than happy for her.
I think so. It feels like it, and I think that that's because we've seen this. We've seen how this plays out. Perfect example, right? Without giving away too much, right? Lex Luger, because I said it before, Monday Night Raw first shot. He was the guy, right? But then when they got bought by WWE, they never even called Lex Luger back. So now you got to wait for your contract right. Yeah, you're getting paid, but when you go to get more money, there ain't no more for you because the second league got
You
bought by
know
the big
who
league.
this happens to a lot? This happens a lot to specifically NFL running backs. It was a point in time where the running backs was running off with the checkbooks. Then it got to the point where they start holding out.
Right.
And you know what we gonna do? We're gonna bring somebody else in here because you messing up the money, you messing up the team, you messing up the morale. You messing up everything. So instead of dealing with your headache, we just move on. And a lot of people mess up business and relationships because if somebody said, "Hey, Archie, you can go join the WWE commentary team tomorrow," I'm like, "Yo, I love y'all, Attitude Era podcast, but I got to get on the plane." We don't know. That's what I'm saying is we don't know the situation in which she made the decision she made so quick and abruptly to where she's like, drop everything and go.
But here's what I'm gonna say: it's for personal reasons, right? Okay. But you pop up in another company within 24 hours.
Oh, it's personal. My
Yeah, it's
checkbook is
personal. It's
personal.
like fuck
My
y'all. This is
my
my dream.
my dreams are personal. My
I
bills are
get you, but
personal.
that's I would never, because what happens when and if, and God forbid, because I want the best for you. I want her to shine so bright, right? But I always like to think of, hey man, this is and wrestling is just like any other sport, if not worse. What happens? It ain't no if. What happens when you get hurt? And wrestling, it's a guarantee you will get hurt. Very few wrestlers haven't gotten, and I'm not talking about a broken neck back, but like you got to get a, you pull something, you do this, you do that.
Well, the thing is
Where
about wrestling injuries, they never really heal.
it's
Tegan
not that they
Knox.
don't heal.
Tegan Knox has the same knee injury.
It's not
Nikita
that they don't heal.
Lyons, same knee injury. It's
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 their it's their schedule, bro. Because remember, they only get so much
well, think about it. I just
time
named
away.
NXT stars who don't have as heavy of a schedule. So if they're not healing with not as heavy of a schedule, this is how I don't want to make this dark, but a lot of those wrestlers in Attitude Eras and before got hooked on painkillers
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
they
Yeah,
never had the
sure.
chance to heal. I got to wrestle tomorrow, bro. I put a band-aid on it, and unfortunately the band-aid was like drugs and whatever. But and we
Painkillers,
don't
man.
want to see that happen to anybody. We don't want no substance abuse, no addiction problem because man, look, you take time, but again, when you take the time, WWE might sign somebody else. Your spot ain't your spot no more. We've seen this more in the past, I would say 4 to 5 years than anything. Champions finally winning their titles, and then the next night dropping the titles because they were hurt.
Hey, and then your spot may never, like you said. Remember Finn Balor? He's the first Universal Champion.
He never recovered from that. We just
Never.
saw it on NXT with Wesley. He's back in a group now for how long? Who knows? We see a lot of people drop titles and never get back to that peak or to that title position. And things change in wrestling. Wrestling is like technology. Something happens every day in it. It's fast. It's moving. It's no more 6 to 12 month build. We're gonna build a story in 2 weeks and get it paid out.
Or we do build it long term, but not with you.
Now with you. Then
Not
when
with
you
you.
come back, you just kind of the third wheel in a lot of situations.
I mean, just even on the main roster with their biggest stars, right? It was supposed to be WrestleMania Seth CM Punk. CM Punk gets hurt, so he can't go. They got to figure out they slide Seth over to the main storyline into that bloodline thing, but he still has to fight Drew because Drew injured. Like it was this whole thing. So if you're not in that level, you could be very easily forgotten about, pushed to the side. And that's a lie because again, Finn Balor was main event star. He won the universe. He beat Roman Reigns, and the next night gave up that belt. So I just say that to say this: you never know where life will take you. You could be riding high, and then all of a sudden,
And
hey,
maybe that's why she left the way she left. I gotta get this. I gotta go now.
you're
We
right.
don't
We don't
know.
know the story. We don't know the story.
We
I just
just
know
know
this.
what we read. We just know what comes out. It was a joyous occasion 24 hours ago. 24 hours later, people hate the decision you made for yourself in your life. Welcome to
That's a
the
fact.
internet, people.
Hey, and I'm gonna say this: there's always three sides to every story: yours, theirs, and the truth.
The
And
truth.
so, actually, there's really four: yours, theirs, what really happened, and then how I take all of that.
And whatever people want to post on the internet, which is
Yeah,
what
it's
people
like,
take as the gospel.
yeah. So
So
I wish
we're
her the
going to
best
keep an
story.
eye on this story. We just had to tap in to update the Attitude Era podcast fam about this. This is a big story. I think it's going to grow some more legs. Hopefully, she's mentally tough and stays out of the comments because that's another thing you have to think about. Like, how do these people, like, you made a decision for yourself in your life, and these are when I don't know when this happened, but a lot of wrestling fans stopped being fans and became critics. You should be happy for somebody moving on to do something bigger and better. Instead, it's a lot of criticism comes to. It's a lot of opinions. It's a lot of this and that. We just talking about it, but I
Well,
don't.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. One, you give people cameras and mics. Two, people became critics when, and going back to a conversation earlier in this broadcast, you talked about like certain platforms, certain organizations, their fans like a certain thing. People also don't want to see her lose what she has because sometimes when you go to WWE, you got to adapt, you got to change up.
You gotta
And
change.
and now you're not like Shinsuke Nakamura. He was he was lit. It was lit. He's a former Royal Rumble winner. Like
Oscar.
we're I what has happened to these people? Karrion Cross was like, it was some people just can't get over, but they were over when they got there. So it's like you
I
went to the
think it's
WWE.
when it doesn't translate, you might feel like, okay, she's not gonna be what she once was. Perfect example. They haven't changed a thing about Joe Hendry, but he's also not full time on the NXT roster.
He's not on NXT. He's just a part of the deal that they have. So you can't change Joe Hendry. But what you're doing is you're you're amplifying Joe Hendry because he is never gonna trend that much doing anything in TNA. Never. And yet, when he came over for that Royal, oh shit, it blew the roof. And now his song is everywhere. He's constantly, and now people are going to let's check out TNA. Oh, they got someone else going back and forth. Jordan Grace did.
And they needed that. They needed
Hell
Joe
yeah.
Hendry to do exactly what he's doing because the TNA was getting the short end of the stick on this crossover thing. Your champion came over and lost.
And she got in the Royal Rumble. Because I would like to see him like the unthinkable happen. Jordan Grace would have beat Roxanne. That would have been dope. Or Roxanne go to TNA and catch a loss. Now it's 1-1. Now you got to have a a trilogy for this thing.
I thought Roxanne should have answered the open challenge. I'm gonna
I
beat.
think it steal
I
your
beat
belt. I
you
didn't
at
think
my
so.
house. You came to my house, disrespected my house. I'm gonna beat your ass in your house. What's up?
Or that cocky shit. I already know I can beat you, so now I'm coming here to take your title. Wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh shit, now we gotta, you know what I'm saying? It, so much stuff they could do there. I just don't
But
want to
like I
see.
said, the Joe Hendry was a good shot in the arm. So hopefully this new signing will do some. I don't see how it elevates the women's roster because it's already good.
I mean, it gives them another heel potentially because you're gonna have to book her probably a heel to start.
I don't know if they lean into the New Japan style or they lean into the luchador. See, we don't. It's a lot of things.
She's got some size though. I think they're gonna lean to a New Japan strong style, a bully style.
A little
Um,
stiff. Yeah, a little stiff.
yeah, I
But
I think because you got some high flyer luchador, Soul, Ruka, Kalani, Jordan, and you
well,
know,
it makes for good matchups because there's not a lot of powerhouses in NXT,
yeah,
women wise. So
well, yeah, yep.
it makes for a good styles matchup. Um, Long term booking, we'll see. Roxanne Perez has a stranglehold on that title right now. Again, the NXT women's roster is fire. It's fire. So, any final thoughts on this, HP?
No, I don't. I just again, I wish all women the best. I wish all the organizations, pro wrestling's at a peak. It's not even at a peak. It's just in an upward trend, and I don't know where the new peak is gonna go. But let's just keep going up. So
Yeah, so shout out to you for watching this. This is the Attitude Era podcast. We had to let you know we had action, and if you don't know, we always have action. Every almost every day, we drop
uh-huh.
content. 5 minutes, well, 5 minutes after Monday Night Raw ends, we are live on YouTube and Twitter. 5 minutes after NXT ends, we are live on YouTube and Twitter. 5 minutes after SmackDown ends, we are live on YouTube and Twitter. Every Tuesday, we drop new content. Right now on Tuesdays, we're dropping our Double Up series where we take one wrestler who had two characters in two different companies, might be around the Attitude Era time, and we compare the characters and we vote and we hang one of the Raptors jerseys in the Raptors. We did Scott Hall versus Kevin Nash. No, Scott Hall versus Razor Ramon. We
Yeah,
did
I was like,
Kevin Nash versus Diesel. We did X Pac versus 123 Kid versus Six. We did Giant versus Big Show, and we got something coming next week, real
that'd be
good.
dope.
We recap anything wrestling related, like this story broke. We had to talk about it. We did Who Killed WCW. We did WrestleMania XL Behind the Curtain,
Yes.
and we have a bunch of interviews. Anybody you could think of, we've probably interviewed them, if not once, maybe twice, on the Attitude Era podcast. So check out the interviews, and if you want we got exclusive interviews too. We got a Patreon, and it's some exclusive interviews on there. It's some music on there. Some of your favorite rap wrestlers make music, and you don't even know about it. We got it on Patreon. We got Jacob Fatu rapping on there. We got uh, Max Caster, Leo Rush, AJ Francis, aka Top Dollar, and our podcast chief is on there. DNA dropping bars. So if you know, you know. The Patreon, we are constantly finding ways to tweak it and move it to make it a better, enjoyable, and honestly, I ain't gonna hold you, not pricey experience for you because we want to get y'all this content, but we want to be able to get y'all the content, and I know how that go. But Attitude Era Podcast, we are live, we are active. Tap in, follow all the social medias. Follow me on social media at the Archie Carter. You can follow King HP at Hall Preezy Universe, and if you want to know what the Hall Preezy Universe is, it's his own world of Marvel. So if you into the movies, you into the Marvel, you into the fandom, you into the lore and all that, he does a great job breaking down all the Marvel stuff. And as you can see, I'm into the movies, the anime, the wrestling, and everything. But we are into you, and we are here for you. This is Attitude Era Podcast. I am the Southeast Mouthpiece, the Archie Carter. That's King HP. And in the words of DNA, good
Good
night.
night.